What's up, fellow gamers? Today, I was scrolling the Bird app again, as I know I should not be doing. So I saw a tweet, and I was reminded that the Game Awards are coming up. And in fact, if you didn't vote in real life for like the midterm stuff, you should go vote for the Game Awards at the very least, because it's your civic duty, especially as a gamer. You have to be involved with the community. So, get up out there, go let your voice be heard. Okay, I'm sorry. It's really stupid. But today, I'm going to be bringing you some first world problems that honestly don't matter at all, but it matters to me as a gamer. You know what I mean? Especially with the Game Awards, that's where you get to see your favorite games kind of get their recognition. And on top of that, you get to see maybe some of your voice be heard where it could matter in terms of, hey, I want my favorite game to win an award here. So let's discuss what the Game Awards is. So the Game Awards is literally exactly as it sounds. You don't need any explanation for it. They give awards to games, and honestly, they've been growing in popularity, I think, since about like 2014 maybe. And they've grown in such popularity that a lot of people do their game reveals there. Like, we get some new trailers, we get to see some cool games. It's hosted by, I believe, I don't know if it's Geoff or Geoff. If Geoff, if you've ever watched this, bro, I'm so sorry. Is it Geoff or Geoff? You can tell. I'm not gonna hear this now. Okay, we're just gonna move on. But yeah, it's Geoff Kingsley, I believe his name is. He seems like a pretty chill dude, and it is what it is. But yeah, so let's go see what the Game Awards are about. Like, how do you go vote? Like, how do they even choose it? Who's making the nominees, bro? Like, what the heck? Let's go see what it is. All right, so on their website we can actually find their FAQ. And FAQ is the factually accurate no, it's not. It's frequently asked questions. If you believe me, you need to get your ears checked. Sorry, buddy. So let's just read, how are the nominees selected. So nominees for most categories of the Game Awards are chosen by an international jury of over 100 global. Let me just stop there. It says 100 global media and influencer outlets. Basically, what they're saying is game reviewers and influencers. Pretty much half of those people, when they get their games early, they will play on the easiest difficulty. I call it the game reviewer difficulty. That's where I remember, like, in The Last of Us, I think it was like part 2, they had some accessibility features, which I love accessibility features. Don't get me wrong here, but with game reviewers, just regular game reviewers, have nothing wrong with them. They're just game reviewers. They will enable those modes where it could be like, yo, hey, the enemy, even if you like crawl right in front of them, as long as you're in a crouched stance, they will not detect you, and they'll be like, wow, this is very, very strong gameplay. And it's like, okay, game reviewer, calm down, buddy. You review games, you're not the most special person. We all know how we feel about game reviewers. They're game reviewers, But yeah, so in the long run, you're kind of asking yourself at this point, like, hey, so where do we come in? So we don't come in at all with the nominees. The nominees are chosen by the over 100 global media and influencer outlets, and it says that their credentials are basically the history of critical video game evaluation, which, okay, like, it's fine. There are good game reviewers out there, don't get me wrong. I love you guys. I just want to make that clear. They even actually answer it over here. They say, why do you use this jury to select nominees? And so they say, given the sheer number of games released each year, as well as the extended time required to fully evaluate products, a voting outlet approach allows for a widest possible critical assessment. And so that's fine with me, because, like, there are a lot of games, and if you just leave it completely out to the, like, general public to try and, like, make a voting system for it, like, you're just gonna get a huge variety of games, and you might even get games that possibly don't quite fit under like the total umbrella that you're looking for, especially for like a specific award that you want to give to a specific game. Yeah, so how do they even find their winners? How are they selected? So I'm not gonna lie to you, this seems completely bullshit in terms of like the way to describe it, because it makes no sense. I guess it could make some sense, but like there's no actual like there's no way to actually understand what they even mean here other than taking their word for it. So they say here, winners are determined by a blended vote between the voting jury 90% and the public fan voting 10%. Whatever 90% and 10% means is completely out of our hands. They have not really stated how they would like take 10% of the vote and 90% of the vote and then just, you know what I mean? Like it's a little unclear about that stuff. But in the end, at least we have 10% of the vote, I guess. And it sounds like it's mostly coming down to like the game reviewers and stuff that actually selected for the nominees for the Game Awards. And so, yeah, so that's pretty much what the Game Awards are. It's just a whole bunch of game lovers who happen to either review games or it's pretty much review games. They're all coming together to pull up their favorite games, and we get a chance to slide in a little vote towards one of the ones that we like based off of what they want us to vote off of. That's pretty much it. That's the Game Awards. I just want to say that I don't think the fans should have 100% of the vote either. Like, though I would say 10% might be a little low on the low side, but I guess I get it. Like, it's, you want to keep it like how they are with Emmys and stuff, where it's just a whole bunch of like actual jury people who like to dissect stuff and analyze it, and they're like pros in their field, maybe like they got a college degree for reviewing movies, something like that. You want them to have kind of like the first say in it, and that's completely fine. I feel like that's whatever, but if you're gonna say that's 10% for the fans and then 90% for the people who like make the nominees and stuff, at the very least be a little clear what 90% and 10% means, because that means absolutely nothing when we actually look at it, and it is what it is at that point. So the reason why I'm making this video though is because some people were actually a little bit peeved about it, and the first one that we're going to talk about is the best narrative. And so something that people are mad about, or maybe not even mad about, is something that's just a little bit like what do I do here, is what does best narrative mean? So with this definition of for outstanding storytelling and narrative development in a game, it's a little bit hard to choose between these games because they all come at it like in a different way. Like Plague Tale Requiem, God of War Ragnarok, Forbidden West, like those games, they're cinematic, right? They have a story, they have cutscenes, and then you have a little bit of gameplay in between them, and that's how the stories go. But for Elden Ring, it takes a completely different approach. So when we see best narrative, do we want the like classical definition of like what God of War and Plague Tale Requiem are, or do we want something like with Elden Ring where their story is kind of inhibited inside the gameplay, where you have to like kind of move around and it's like broken up and it's not like a clear 1-2 step like thing it is for like God of War Ragnarok. And so there is this journalist for the Washington Post. His name is Gene Park. So he actually made a tweet earlier, and I quite frankly agreed with it a good amount. And I'm going to go ahead and read that tweet to you guys. So he says, discounting Elden Ring as a good narrative because you need YouTube videos to understand is kind of telling on yourself. It's like saying James Joyce shouldn't be considered the greatest 20th century author because you don't understand Ulysses. So he brings up a good point here, where just because like the story is broken up and stuff doesn't mean that it's a bad story. Like if you connect the dots yourself, you can see like there's a really big interesting backdrop for the whole game, right? And so would that disqualify it as a best narrative? Because in the end, like, it's still a narrative. But yeah, that was something that people were kind of like feeling a little confused about. But yeah, so I feel like Gene Park is kind of right in that sense, where just because like the story is broken up and stuff doesn't mean it should be like discounted for it. And so that was just like one confusing thing for some people. And so that's a problem with some of the voting things too here. You're probably just gonna vote for the game that you played. If you even care about voting, like even if you cared about voting, it doesn't exactly mean you've played every single one of these games. And if you've only played one of these games, you're gonna be like, I might as well just pick that because I don't know what the other ones are. Like personally, I haven't gone through Elden Ring, so I probably wouldn't go for voting for that one just because I haven't played it. There was actually another problem that kind of came up here, and this was for the category of best fighting. So with best fighting game that you kind of expect with fighting games, you see like a versus and you have metas and stuff, and you see people who are like competitive with it, right? So something that people were kind of arguing about is that this game right here, Sifu, isn't technically a fighting game, at least in the way that they have it in this section of the voting. Because if you look at all the other games, they're all versus games, like DNF Duel, JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, King of Fighters, Multiverses. Those are all games where you have either 2 or more players and you're fighting it out, you're duking it, and that's the whole point of the game. It's just fighting like that. So the thing with Sifu, if you have never seen it, Sifu is like a single player game. There's no verses in it. It is a fighting game where you are using your fists to fight people. Essentially, that's what a fighting game is technically. But compared to the other games, those are all like versus games where it's multiplayer and it's competitive. With Sifu, it's just a single player experience. It's like Yakuza 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Like, you would say that that's a fighting game, but it's not the fighting game in terms of like actual like versus. And the fact that they have that on there, people don't quite like that either. I personally, I don't think it fully matters, but if you wanted to actually like keep it like consistent, I wouldn't include Sifu in this one. But they are actually on the best action, I believe. So I think that's a more appropriate place to put Sifu. And honestly, that game has like, this is just a side note, it has funny as hell mods. There's like people putting like Clifford the Big Red Dog or something as the main character, and it's hilarious. I love it. But yeah, so that's all I really had to say. Like, I just wanted to explain, like, hey, this is what's going on in the world of the Game Awards. And like I said earlier, hey, if you missed out on voting on your midterms, go vote on the Game Awards, because it's your duty to vote as a citizen of the world. That's right. We're watching you. And like I said earlier, this is a first world problem. It's all basically like game reviewer stuff, and we all know how we might feel about a game reviewer or two. Personally, game reviewers, like, they're not technically the most important thing. They're good for when you want to get like a sense of like how a game is, maybe, but ultimately, if you want to know how a game is, like, go out, play it, see what you like, see if you like it for yourself, right? That's the ultimate review for yourself, is just going out and trying it yourself. Like, either way, even with all these problems and stuff, and like kind of the stupid voting scheme that I think isn't like the best way to kind of collect your votes, even though it's like that, I'm still quite excited for the Game Awards. I want to see what games are coming out, and let's hope it like rocks our socks off. But yeah, with that being said, if you guys like what you saw, drop a like. If you had disliked it, drop a dislike. Subscribe if you want to too. And I'm gonna go play some more God of War. Peace.